Buongiorno a tutti, mi chiamo Charlotte e oggi parliamo dell'inverno. Vi mostro e studiamo le espressioni sull'inverno. For example, l'inverno è fatto di nasi freddi e baci indimenticabili. It's pretty, isn't it? So, we're looking at expressions or sayings, or just like little phrases if you like, which talk about the winter, l'inverno. So that's la stagione, the season. There's la primavera, l'estate, l'autunno e l'inverno. So guys, I'm sorry if you can hear the sound of my laptop over here. You can probably hear the battery in a minute. I might have to turn that off. But basically, yeah, we're looking at the stagioni. Right, so I'm using my tablet at the moment to record this, so I have to look there in the middle. Eccomi. So I've got 4 expressions, or like kind of phrases, sayings, and we're going to be looking at, well, all of the language, but in particular, as always, the verbs contained within them, and also the adjectives. So here we've got the verbs underlined, or the verbs in red, and then I've underlined the adjectives, so they're the descriptive words, the words that you can use to describe something like big, little, boring, old, cold, whatever, okay? And in Italian, those adjectives agree in gender and number with the noun that they're describing. So if I'm saying, for example, cold noses, I've got a bit of a red nose, I always get that around, well, the winter time. It's quite annoying, but you know, it is what it is. Then nasi would be noses, plural. You can see it here. Nasi, and then we've got the adjective freddi, which has got an I at the end, so freddo would be cold, but singular, masculine, because it agrees with the singular noun naso, nose. Il naso freddo, the cold nose. I nasi freddi, cold noses, okay? So often you'll have an O or an A in the singular, sometimes an E at the end of an adjective in the singular. And then in the plural, you'll either have an I or an E, okay? And there's irregular ones as well. So sometimes it's like masculine or feminine, and there's an I at the end in the plural. It's all a bit confusing, but the general rule is an O at the end of a masculine singular noun changes to an I at the end of a masculine plural noun, and an A at the end of a feminine singular noun will go to an E at the end of a feminine plural noun, okay? So the kind of people who are probably watching this video might be familiar with that, but it does get a bit confusing, okay? So the first one I've already mentioned. These are from like various places. So we've got, they've probably been actually translated into Italian. So this is the Italian language version of these kind of sayings or expressions or things that have been written, basically. So the first one is by Luigi Mancini, the second is Anton Chekhov, and then the third one is Victor Hugo, and then the fourth one again, Fabrizio Caramagna. Okay, so we've got a little mix of nationalities there. So let's look at what we have. So, excuse me guys. L'inverno, the winter, there's that noun, winter, which is masculine, and it's got an L apostrophe at the beginning. So when there's an L apostrophe at the beginning of a noun, you just pronounce it, even though there's an apostrophe, you wouldn't say l'inverno, you just pronounce it as if it's one word. L'inverno è, so that's from the verb essere, it is, he, she, or it is. Fatto, so fatto is the past participle of, or like it functions as an adjective as well, actually. Made of. Fatto di is the preposition of or from. nasi, noses, ecco il mio, freddi, so here we have an adjective that's in the plural masculine form, so F-R-E-D-D-I. So the I at the end tells you that the word cold, freddi, is describing something that's plural, but it also happens to be masculine, okay? So it agrees with kind of, the written and spoken form of it changes in accordance with the noun it's describing. Whoa, that's not good, hang on a sec. I just almost lost my tablet here. Let me just, it's kind of, because I'm not in my office, I don't have the setup that I kind of made a lot of effort to put in place a few years ago, and I've been kind of moving around and having to be quite resourceful, but that also means that because I don't have everything I need and my office is as I'd like to have, or as I should have, I'm kind of putting devices on things in places wherever I am. So sorry about that. Nearly lost the tablet there. Oh well, let's start again. So, l'inverno è fatto di nasi freddi e baci. Un bacio is like this. Un bacio means a kiss. Un bacio. It's a masculine noun, bacio. But because it ends with an I and an O, to make the C and the I make a ch sound, chi, and the O, bacio. C, I, and O makes a cho sound, okay? In the plural, we actually lose a letter, and it becomes baci, baci. Baci is kisses, plural, more than one. Indimenticabili. So this is another adjective, and it's even though it comes after the noun baci, it's describing it. So in English we'd say unforgettable kisses, but in Italian you'd say kind of kisses unforgettable. It's just the way it generally is. Sometimes you will see an adjective before a noun, but they tend to be certain common ones. Otherwise you'll see them generally after the noun. So baci is the plural masculine noun, kisses, the I at the end tells you it's probably a masculine plural noun, and indimenticabile, which actually ends with an E in the singular, becomes indimenticabili. Okay, the I at the end shows you that it's in agreement with the noun that precedes it. So who's this person? Luigi Mancini stated or wrote, l'inverno è fatto di nasi freddi, come il mio, e baci indimenticabili. So winter, or the winter, is composed of, if you like, cold noses and unforgettable kisses. It's lovely, isn't it? It's been a while since I've had an unforgettable kiss. Indimenticabile. So, indimenticabili in the plural. So, if you think of the word, well, there's the noun. Sorry, there's not the noun. There's the verb dimenticare, which is to forget. Dementia. Okay, so like the noun dementia, when people start becoming forgetful, unable to remember things. So it's sort of the same root. Okay, indimenticabile or indimenticabili in the plural. So even if you were describing something that was feminine plural or feminine singular, it would be indimenticabile with an E at the end. I'll show you on this tiny whiteboard. Indimenticabile. Lots of adjectives, and some nouns actually end with this ile, I-L-E, at the end of them. So if we're talking about adjectives like this one, it's a bit like unforgettable. So in English it would end with ble. Okay, that's often an ending that you find on sort of some adjectives. And in Italian you can use indimenticabile, bile, for a noun that's feminine or masculine in the singular. But in the plural, whether it's masculine or feminine, it will end in an I. Okay? So that also happens for, let's think of some other common nouns. Not nouns, adjectives. Triste. Triste becomes tristi, sad. Or felice, felice, if you're describing more than one thing that's happy, becomes felici. Okay? So it's quite a common structure, even if it isn't the kind of standard. Excellent. So let's have a look at this next one, which I think is it's Chekhov. Okay, Anton Chekhov. Okay, and all of these I've found from a website online, which you can go and have a look at yourself. If you're one of my club members, you can just click on the link within the digital version of this document that I email to you, or you can just type it in, aphoristicamente. So an aphorism, I suppose. Aphorisms, so that's just sayings. Aphoristicamente.com. Frasi, citazioni, aforismi sull'Inverno. Phrases, quotations and aphorisms on the winter. Okay, so there's the link there. That's what it looks like in Italian. It's just under that text at the top. So this is a Chekhov phrase, quotation if you like. La gente, this one here, la gente non si accorge se è estate o inverno. Sorry about the reflections, guys. Quando è felice. Now the thing about this, it's a bit strange for like English natives, I guess, or English native speakers. They could be from, you know, any English-speaking country. Is that when you think of the word people, you tend to think of it as being more than one. You think of it as plural, right? It makes sense. People is more than one. When you talk about people are, people don't realise, people don't notice. That's what this basically translates as. People don't realise or don't notice when it is summer or winter when they are happy. Okay, it's nice, isn't it? So if you're happy, you don't notice what season it is, okay? But in Italian, this word here, la gente, this feminine noun, is a singular noun. It ends with an E, okay? Normally singular nouns in Italian tend to end with an A, but sometimes they end with an E. And if they do, they could be masculine or feminine, but the la tells you that it's a feminine noun. So even though it means people, it is la gente, so it is singular. It's got la instead of le. Now, another way of saying la gente is le persone, which is like saying persons or people, basically. So that's a bit more like the English plural form, okay, of that noun. But because la gente is a singular noun, it is feminine, but it's singular, we have la gente non si accorge. Okay, so this is from accorgersi, which is to notice or to realise. That's probably other ways of saying it. Let's just have a look if I can find some others. Yeah, to notice or realise. Can't really think of any others at the moment. So accorgersi is a reflexive verb. It's got this si pronoun which precedes it when it's conjugated like this. When you use it in a sentence, you have to change the form in accordance with whatever the subject is. La gente is a subject, and la gente, because it's singular, you conjugate it as if you've got a he or she or it subject. So it's like saying people, la gente, it does not realise or it does not notice if it is summer or winter, when it, brackets, la gente, is happy. So the e here and the si accorge agree with la gente, which is singular in Italian, but it's a bit like saying he or she doesn't notice or doesn't realise when it is summer or winter when he or she is happy. Okay? So yes, la gente is singular, whereas in English people is like a plural noun, so it could be a bit confusing. Non si accorge from accorgersi. I have that on the handout actually. Accorgersi is over here, the verb to notice or to realise. And when you conjugate a reflexive verb, like chiamarsi, which is to call oneself, or lavarsi, to wash oneself, then you take the si bit, which is at the end of the infinitive verb, and you pop it in the front, and you might have to change it to mi, or ti, or si, or vi, or chi or vi or si. So these are all reflexive pronouns. You have to take that pronoun and pop it at the front here, take it off the end of the verb, pop it at the front, whichever one it is that corresponds with the subject. So you have to know whether you're saying I realise, or you realise, or he, she, or we, or they, or you plural realise. And then you pick the verb part, accorgere, and you conjugate that in accordance with the subject. So accorge is the third person, that's not io, it's not tu, it's the lui, lei form, third person singular, because it's talking about one person or one singular subject. And then you put the corresponding singular third person reflexive pronoun in front of it. So la gente non si accorge, the non in front of the verb, the conjugated verb, means they do not, it makes it negative, okay? They do not realise. Se means if or whether. E means is, from essere, like up here, it's very common. Auxiliary verb, you need to know that, okay? That's the first thing you should learn when you look at verbs. In fact, the other verb I've got here is the verb essere, okay? So if you're not sure how to conjugate that, you need to go and check, okay? We've got sono, I am, sei, you, singular, are, lui, lei, è, he or she or it is, noi siamo, we are, voi, you guys, plural, siete, you guys are, you all, y'all are, and loro sono, that's they are. Okay, so you need to know that verb in the present tense, and then you can put non in front of any of them to make it negative, and then suddenly you can say twice as much stuff in Italian. So non sono, io non sono inglese, sono gallese, for example. Siamo felici, non siamo tristi. Okay, we are happy, we are not sad, for example. So go and check the verb essere if you're not sure. So, la gente non si accorge se è estate, whether it is, that's the season, summer, or inverno, that's the season, winter, about which we're speaking. Quando è felice, when he or she or it or they, because we're talking about the people, la gente è felice. Felice is the singular adjective, okay, so we've got another adjective here, lovely. Descriptive word tells you how something is, describes what something is like. It could be a person, it could be an object, the pen, it could be like a kind of intangible, metaphysical, it could be something like theoretical, like, you know, I don't know, not theoretical, but something that's intangible, like the air. The air is cold, the air is hot, the love is pure, you know, something like that, okay? So that's pure, old, cold, hot, boring. Okay, these are all ways of describing things, and those descriptive words are called adjectives, okay? So felice is an adjective, and it ends in an E. You could say, Michele è felice. Okay, Michele is happy. But you could also say, Paola, Laura, Chiara è felice. It's just, you know, you don't have to change the ending of that word, depending on the noun. Well, in the plural, you would have to say, loro sono felici, with an I at the end, okay? So felice becomes felici in the plural, whether you're describing masculine, feminine nouns or people, okay? It's a bit like indimenticabili, okay? So, la gente non si accorge se è estate o inverno quando è felice. People don't notice or realise whether it's summer or winter when they're happy. It's quite nice, isn't it? So let's look at number 3. So this is the Victor Hugo one. Yeah. L'inverno è sulla mia testa, ma la primavera eterna è nel mio cuore. So l'inverno, you probably know that word by now, it means winter, it's the season. Winter is, there we've got essere again, it's got that little grave accent over it, that's the third person singular of the verb to be, so it is sulla mia testa, ma la primavera eterna è nel mio cuore. So I was thinking about how to translate this. Su normally means on, but sometimes it can mean like over. So here I'm going to say winter is on or over my head, like it's overhead, like there's a sense of it being above, but also a sense of kind of on. Mia means my. Mia, like mamma mia. Mia is the feminine possessive adjective, so it's describing something. My. Mia testa, okay, my head. Ma, that means but. La primavera, that's spring, so that's another season. But the spring, eterna, so that eterna means eternal, so eternal spring. Again, that adjective eternal ends with an A because it's in agreement with the feminine noun primavera, okay? But eternal or endless, but eternal, you know, unending. Spring it is, nel mio cuore, il cuore, so in my heart. Now, this preposition nel, there's lots of prepositions in Italian, and sometimes they have this kind of unchanged form, and then they have this kind of articulated, combined form. For example, you have nel in front of something that's masculine singular, but you might have nella in front of something that is feminine, or you might have nelle, or nei, or nei. There's all these, you have to look up combined or articulated Italian prepositions, okay, because they look quite baffling and a bit confusing when you look at them, but then you soon get used to them. Here's another example, sulla mia. So su and la together become sulla. Su means over or on top of, that kind of thing. It's just a sense of above. And then la is the word the article, which precedes mia testa. But here we've got nel, which is in. In means in. And then il, which is the article that precedes a masculine singular noun. So let me write this down here because it's a bit confusing. I like to think of it as kind of like language maths. Nel equals il plus, oh sorry, no it doesn't, it equals in, oh what a mess. In plus il equals nel. Okay, a bit confusing because in starts with an I, in, più il fanno nel, okay, so in plus il equals nel. So you won't ever see in il mio cuore. Instead, these two have to sort of change the way that they look and therefore the way that they're pronounced in Italian. So nel just means in the, okay? In the my heart. It sounds a bit strange when you back translate it, but you get used to it, okay? Mio is the masculine form of my when it's in front of something that's singular, like cuore. And here again we have a noun that ends with an E. So what was the other noun that we had that ended with an E? Ah, la gente. La gente is like people. Il cuore is the heart. Il mio cuore is my heart. So you have this article the, il, then you have the sort of possessive adjective mio, my, singular masculine, then you have the noun cuore. And it just so happens that this noun doesn't end with an E like a normal sort of basic Italian singular noun. It happens to end with an E. So actually it's quite a complex thing. You know, if you're sort of beginner or intermediate, that can look a little bit confusing. So let's look again. L'inverno è sulla mia testa. So winter is over my head or around my head, if you like, on my head. Doesn't quite make sense in English. Ma la primavera eterna, but eternal spring, è nel mio cuore, is in my heart. So it might be winter outside, but in my heart it's eternal spring. It's nice, isn't it? Okay, now let's look at number 4. Numero 4. Inverno, punto. So winter, full stop. This is actually a question, the second part. Quante, that means how many. Quante farfalle, how many butterflies. Well, that's an F there. Managed to rub that off a little bit. Come on, dov'è la penna nera? Eccola. Farfalle F. Okay. Excuse me. I realise I clear my throat quite a lot, don't I, when I talk? L'inverno, punto. Winter. Quante farfalle sono nascoste dietro il tendone blu del cielo in attesa della primavera? Ooh, so we've got a few things here actually. I hadn't quite noticed just how many combined prepositions we had in these expressions. So sometimes that happens and it's quite useful. So winter. Quante is the question word, so quanto or quanta, quante with an E or quanti with an I at the end, all mean how many or how much of something. So here we've got a plural feminine noun, farfalle, which means butterflies. Okay, it's also a type of pasta. It looks like a little kind of bow, or a butterfly with like 2 wings. Quante farfalle, how many butterflies? Sono, that means they are. So how many butterflies are? Then we've got this nascoste. So I'm going to point out here that at one point in one of my previous Italian videos, I confused nascondere, which is to hide, with the verb nascere, which is to be born. Okay, very different, but to a non-native, they've got a very similar root, nascondere and nascere. So it starts with this N-A-S-C, okay? And then someone cut a little bit of my video and like changed it, and they were like, hee hee, look what she said, is it nascondere or nascere? And they were right, I did make a mistake, but you know, I don't mind making a mistake. But it's more useful if you let me know in a comment or reach out to me and say, hey, you made a mistake there. That happens because I always record the videos in one take, and sometimes you just, you know, when you're teaching, you do make some mistakes because you're human, you know. I haven't got any shame about that, but it was quite funny, you know, you got a laugh. So, here, inverno, punto. Quante farfalle sono nascoste? So, nascoste is the past participle, which means hidden, hidden, from the verb nascondere. I kind of feel like I have to check that now, you know, I might get it wrong again. Nascondere. I mean, it's always worth checking if you're not sure, because, you know, it helps you be sure. Yeah, to hide or to conceal. Okay, that's nice. Conceal is like a nice alternative to hide, the verb to hide. But this is the past participle, or it functions as an adjective. So, how many, quante farfalle sono nascoste, how many butterflies are hidden? Let me just, I'm looking at the word tendone because I'm not sure if it's like blanket or like curtain. Awning, okay, top awning. Okay, so let's think of it as like, there's a bit of creative license there. Let's call it a curtain or a blanket, okay, something that covers something. So, how many butterflies are hidden? Dietro means behind, okay, so that's like a kind of, that's a preposition. It talks about where something's placed in relation to something else. Dietro il, so il, something that follows it as a masculine singular noun. Tendone, so here it says awning, okay, which I suppose makes sense because an awning stretches over something, covers it, and also is expansive. And it's talking about the, I would want to say curtain, right? It's not the same as an awning, but sort of the curtain of the sky, or the awning of the sky, because we're talking about, I think, sort of like a metaphor of the sky, il tendone blu del cielo, I would say the blue curtain of the sky, but you could say the blue awning. There's another word which I can't quite think of at the moment, which might be a bit more poetically apt if you're back translating, but this is more to do with understanding the Italian language rather than looking for a translation. So, l'inverno, quante farfalle sono nascoste dietro il tendone blue, just an adjective actually, and that comes after the noun, as is always usually the case. Del is when you have the preposition di plus il. Di più il fanno del. Okay, so di plus il makes del. Cielo in attesa della primavera. So there's this kind of phrase in Italian, in attesa di qualcosa. It means you're waiting for something or awaiting something. Okay, so here, in attesa di, because di in attesa di is the preposition in, attesa and then di, the preposition di. Di plus la becomes della, because la primavera comes after this in attesa di phrase. So actually, inverno, quante farfalle sono nascoste dietro il tendone blu del cielo in attesa della primavera. There's quite a lot of prepositions in there actually. Some of them have changed, been combined, but some of them haven't, like this one, in. So it means winter, full stop. How many butterflies are hidden behind the blue cover or the blue awning or other similar word that means something that covers, is expansive and covers, conceals something. Behind the blue curtain, for example, or awning of the sky, in attesa di, awaiting the spring. So, in the winter, how many butterflies are hidden behind the blue, I would say the blue expanse of the sky, right? Not exactly the same, but it's a similar meaning. It seems more contextually appropriate in my opinion. The blue expanse of the sky, or the blue curtain of the sky, awaiting the springtime. So there's that sense of waiting, and with a curtain you can pull it back and reveal something, so I'd probably use curtain for that reason. So that's quite nice, isn't it, because it's talking about the potency and the potential of the winter. Out of the winter, for example, will come many beautiful things that are just waiting to come into fruition or to be born. And that's a lovely, hopeful thought. And I think I'll have to kind of tie it up there actually, because we're getting to nearly 33 minutes. However, there are some at the bottom of the handout. We've got some of there's quite a few adjectives in this, the expressions that we've just seen, but the ones I wanted to point out to you are the ones that are already in their plural form. So here they are: freddi, with an I at the end, indimenticabili, eterne, got an E on the end, and then nascoste. So let's have a look at those. I don't want to use my hands again to wipe that clean. I'll use that little thing there. Ecco. Let's just, oh, that's not working too well. That's not good, is it? Maybe, it'd be lovely to have all my useful equipment that I normally have in my office to hand, because I wouldn't have to sort of improvise all the time. Anyway, I become quite resourceful, I think, so it's all quite good, really. Although that's not rubbing out very easily, is it? Anyway, so let's look. We've got, how are we going to do this? Freddi. So if we've got the plural adjective freddi, which looks like this, freddi, double D, in the singular, it would be freddo, with a double D and an O, right? Because there's an I at the end of that, I happen to know that in the, and what's it describing? Nasi freddi, so cold noses, like mine. Always got a little red nose in the winter. In the plural, in the singular, it would be freddo, okay, with an O at the end. And what's the next one we've got? Indimenticabili. How am I going to write that on here? I'll try. Indimenticabili. Oh, just fit it on. Indimenticabili. Now I know that that's an adjective that is that ends in an E. In, dim, en, ti, ca, bi, le. Okay, ci siamo, we've done it. Indimenticabile. So you could describe una persona, indimenticabile. Or you could describe un bacio, indimenticabile. So an unforgettable person or an unforgettable kiss. Lovely. Okay, then we got some feminine ones here. So in the plural form, which appears in, oh, it's actually singular in this one, but here I've got a plural form. Okay, just for the sake of putting it back into the singular so you can recognise what it would be. Eterne, if that's plural, in the singular it would be eterna, eternal. Eterna. In this particular one we were talking about la primavera eterna, so eternal spring. So what's the next one? Nascoste. Nascoste. So we're talking about quante farfalle sono nascoste dietro il tendone blu del cielo in attesa della primavera. So nascoste describes le farfalle, hidden or concealed. I like hidden better. Hidden butterflies. Okay. So because it ends with an E, and I know that this adjective in its singular masculine form is nascosto, this is the feminine plural form. We need the feminine singular. So it would be nascosta. Nascosta. Okay. Una farfalla nascosta, a hidden butterfly. Le farfalle nascoste, hidden butterflies, plural, because they're feminine. Okay, I hope that's helpful. So it is the il 23 dicembre. I'm sorry guys, I'm very late posting this. I've had a very busy month, it's been a busy year. It is what it is. It's like my new favourite thing to say. But I hope that you have a wonderful December, and I hope that the start of 2025 is beautiful for you. I'm really looking forward to the new year, but I want to wish you all Buon Natale e Buon Anno, happy Merry Christmas or happy holidays and happy New Year to you, and ci vediamo presto. We'll see each other soon. Grazie mille. Ciao ciao.